Okay, Don, we're ready. Don't worry, we're ready.
Does it matter as long
Yeah.
as you're close to it, as long as I'm close to it?
I mean, I don't know.
That's wonderful. Welcome back. Now, Mary got to do the easy part of formation, and I'm going to do probably the more parts that we might have questions about. Some questions that I think when we look at where the state of our order is, that maybe we need to start asking some questions. So, I begin with asking the Holy Spirit to be present within all of us and to really bless our gathering here, as sometimes we have to wrestle with difficult questions as well. So what I did, I have a handout, I'm not ready to pass it out yet, but I just kind of want to give you an overview of where I'm going. I brought materials with me, and in the interest of ecology, I didn't make copies of everything, but I put everything in the binders, and so I'm going to be referring to them, and I'll leave those binders out, especially during lunch and others, so you can leaf through the material. The handout that I'm going to give you is really how to find things on the NAFR webpage, and I have them listed in here. So I also have those web pages. Since we couldn't have a computer here, I have those listed in the binder, in the black binder, the web page and the actual process. You can actually find the places that are going to be on this handout that I'm going to give you. It's going to tell you how to get to one thing or another on there. So that's what this handout is. But the first thing that I want to start about is we think of formation just in general as only being initial formation and ongoing formation, and then we don't talk about enough, I don't think, and I'd be really interested in your own perspectives as well, so I'd like this part to be a conversation. We don't talk about how do we nourish and feed our councils, because formation, we talk about ongoing formation as in terms of doing at all of our members and our fraternity gatherings. But I also really strongly believe that part of the formation team's responsibility is probably to continue helping our leaders, our ministers, forming them and nourishing them so they can continue to serve and to minister. I am a certified spiritual director, and I have a private practice of spiritual directions. I work full-time. I'll just tell you what my ministry. I work full-time for the Cleveland VA, and I work with dying veterans. So from the time the veteran gets his or her diagnosis, I meet with the veteran and the veteran's family. And then what the privilege is, and this is a great privilege, my privilege is to walk with them, companion them through the dying process. And with our veterans, some of our veterans, not all, but some of our veterans certainly have questions and issues that are going to surface or bubble up at the end of life. And then after the veteran dies, I stay with the family, and however that family is constituted, for up to 13 months, providing bereavement support. And really, I've learned a lot. In the 16 years I've been doing that, I've really learned a lot about my vocation as a Franciscan. And I really wanted to I was touched by what Petch, or Father John, said last night, is because what our vocation is, or at least this is how I see, and this is how I would articulate my vision of my Franciscan vocation is. And my veterans helped me to clarify that. And I look back to Francis's own early life, so this is where I'm coming from with that. Francis was so in love with God that he became the seraphic lover. That was how he is known. Not only that, so much so that he received the stigmata, the wounds of Christ, but I like to suggest to you to think about the wounds of Christ, not just the marks on his hands and feet and in his side, but what were the pains that he endured in order to have those marks there. So even we see Jesus, who was innocent, totally innocent and loving all the time, but then people's response to him was a response that created some difficulty and some pain. So my starting point, and maybe this is just my perspective, but my starting point is the world is suffering. And my vocation as a Franciscan is to tell people that there really is a God, and that God is a God of love. And that God really, really, really loves us. I'm constantly telling my veterans, especially my Vietnam veterans, your past does not define you. God doesn't look down on you and talk about what you did in Vietnam, which was quite painful for many of our veterans, as well as for their families, because the families had to live with the veterans when they came back. And so there was suffering on both sides. God doesn't love us only when we're good. And I think sometimes in fraternities, I think sometimes the way we do formation, or parts of formation, is we're giving the impression that we're really all wonderful people, and we have it all together, and our life is just perfect, and we don't have any relationship difficulties, and we don't have any financial difficulties, or we don't have really any difficulties, because God just loves us. Well, I don't know about you, but that doesn't describe my life at all, and I know it doesn't describe my veterans' lives either. So when we're looking at our brothers and sisters, we need to be aware, I think, that we all bring stories, and we all bring a history. And there is pain in our stories, and there is pain in our history. There's also joys. There's wonderful joys. But is it true? Do we try to sweep some of the things under the rug? Are those the things that we don't share because maybe we have a little bit of shame or embarrassment, or not really sure how you'd accept it if you knew that part of me? And that's what my veterans taught me, because as they were dying, they could no longer sweep things under the rug. They had to bring it to the surface. They had to deal with it if they had the courage to do it and the willingness to do it, but they also needed support and presence. And that's the great privilege that I've had in working with the dying. And they taught me. So I don't go, when I go visit my veterans, I don't come with a package for them. I come with presence. And then they teach me what they need, and I listen, and I pray to the Holy Spirit and St. Francis and St. Elizabeth of Hungary, and I really hope that I'll be inspired to just be a present to listen to their pain and to their story. And that is a prelude to what I think we need to be doing in formation. I really believe, and Pat and Mary are going to be very kind to me this next year, I really want to do training of formation people. Training not only the directors, but formation teams. Because formation isn't about head knowledge only. I think head knowledge is really important. I think we have to have our facts straight. I think we have to understand our Catholic dogma and doctrine and our teaching. I think we have to know Francis's history and Claire's. But I also think we need to know about St. Elizabeth of Hungary, who was a wonderful example and patroness of our order, and St. Louis, and other women and men who have been secular Franciscans throughout our history. We need to celebrate those lives. But even if you look at the lives of the saints, sometimes the way hagiography is sometimes we idolize or plasticize our saints. That we make it think, oh, they didn't really struggle with that decision at all. God just informed them and they just knew. Well, I don't know, in all the spiritual direction I do with really wonderful people, life's decisions and discernment, it's not easy. I mean, is it easy for you? Am I off the wall? Is it a common experience? Are you sharing that? So I think when we do, so what my vision is to be able to bring formation people together. And just like we have a 2 or 3 year training program for spiritual assistants, I think we should be training and I think that's a bad word, I think I would prefer to say, forming our women and men who want to engage in the ministry of formation at all the levels. And I think we need to be a team, and I think we need to have to teach the team how to be a support to each other. Because again, when we do anything, we're doing it as a team and as a unit. And the gifts that we've been given, we don't have a corner on all the gifts. You know, so we need Marys, and we need Anns, and we need Pats. You know, Pat is a wonderful, she put this mission or strategy statement together, strategic vision. We need everyone's gifts. And so that's what enriches the team. But I think what we've lacked, and I could be wrong, and I really welcome your opinion, and I really welcome your disagreement if you disagree with me. What I think we lack is we don't know how to be present to each other and really help each other be real. Be real. I think one of the major reasons why AA is such a success and why there's such a bonding between and among the people who attend AA and Al-Anon is because their first words, hi, I'm Donna Marie and I'm an alcoholic, or hi, I'm Donna Marie and my dad was an alcoholic, or whatever. But they're sharing a bonding. And then they speak out of their brokenness. And out of their brokenness reaches others. Because how else do we witness to a God of love? If God is only going to love me when I'm good, and I know in my heart, wow, I'm not really measuring up, then I'm going to question whether or not God really loves me. And so I need my brothers and sisters to accept me in my brokenness if I'm going to really believe that God is a God of love and God loves me. So I think that process and the prayer process has to be part of our training for formation directors. I think what we've given is tools and resources, which I think are vital and really great. And we have wonderful resources in the form of individuals and persons like Ann and Kip and others who have been doing formation for a long time. But I think we really need to bring together our formation directors and teach a process, a prayerful process. All the first orders go through formation, and they have people trained to do formation for them. And the people do it. And so I think we need to move in that direction. And I'm going to try to work with Mary and Pat next year in their region, or this year coming in their region, to try to put together a formation training program. And my vision, so I'll just share my vision a little bit with you, is we need trainers, we need to train the trainers. I'm going to use that language, I think we need to modify it, but to get the point across, we're going to train the trainers first, and then train those trainers to go out and continue to do that formation process in the local fraternities. I also would like to throw out there that I think we're past the point, now maybe some of the larger fraternities this wouldn't apply to, but I think we're also past the point where individual fraternities should be doing initial formation. I'm just really wondering if doing it in a cluster, or bringing the groups of people together, instead of doing one or two, and we have, let's say we have 6 or 8 in a cluster or geographic region, why wouldn't we bring them together to have them enrich each other's lives and share the experience of each other? And then all the fraternities would come together to celebrate the profession and to celebrate that, because we're one order. Our fraternities are places for us to be nourished and enriched. They're not little cells to keep us separated from each other. So our major celebrations, our receptions and our professions, we should all be coming together for those professions. It should, in my opinion, it shouldn't be just a local fraternity's profession. It's the order's profession. We're celebrating that. A brother and sister has joined us. And I'm often caught by Francis's words when the rules that he was talking for the friars, but he said to the friars, he said in his testament, "The Lord gave me brothers." The Lord gave me brothers. And I say as secular Franciscans, the Lord is giving us brothers and sisters. And we need to celebrate that. And I think what we're trying to do here, the four of us regional spiritual assistants, we get together and we've been meeting frequently and looking at some of these questions and looking at how the friars can, really be a support to us. And I'm really a firm believer that we need to have a friar presence. The secular order is one order, but I am a firm believer that we really need to have the friar's presence. There's an enrichment there that if we don't have that, we lack it. And I'm not saying, I'm pitching in or piggybacking on what Petch said yesterday. It's not that they're here and we're here. And Petch wasn't saying that. It's like we're brothers and sisters and we're collaborating. And they have gifts to bring to us, and we have gifts to bring to them. And I really hope that we begin to see our collaboration and formation in spiritual assistance as just that. Collaborating spiritually in terms of forming really a Franciscan vocation at its core. Now think about that for a moment. Our charism, I believe, we are brothers and sisters of penance. Our charism is, coming out of that sense of we need to be transformed ourselves, that transformation process. And that's what formation is supposed to help us to do, is to be transformed. But transformation is never just for us. And it's certainly not just for our fraternity. Transformation is supposed to be that we are secure and nourished, and now we can go out and be God's love, and Jesus is present in all of our circumstances where we meet people. That's really the focus of formation. I believe that's what we should be forming, and I think we need to help each other to do that. Now, I talked about a little bit earlier about, I said this was going to be a conversation, so I want to stop there. I want to just have some feedback from you or some thoughts. What do you think about that? Do you share that, or am I off the wall, or what's your thoughts and what's your experiences? Venus?
We're not off the wall. With my vocation as well, I sit with the dying at work. And it helped me see who I am as a member of the Franciscan secular order. And it makes me discover myself more, see who I am more. I get to share with the dying share with me. When they die, it is a beautiful experience. Most people are afraid to come in a room because they're afraid to see a dying person, whether their mother, their father, their cousin, brother, sister, whoever. They're not comfortable with that. So I share with you, you're not off the wall. But it helped me to see who I am. And it helped me to be able to deal with other crises that I have to tolerate with at work, with other people. And I'm human.
Right.
You're human. You're doing a beautiful job, really. And to be able to share and sit with those veterans, I honor you. And I think God is going to bless you more.
Thank you. Thank you. Kip.
A couple things. I think you have a great point, because I think an issue that's come up over and over again is I think the need for a mentor. Because we, and I say the same thing about the friars, is we can't give what we don't have, and so to have formators who haven't had really good formation in a sense, or complete formation. They can't give what they don't have. And so in formation, in ministers, as far as the ministers, that's one thing. With this, I think this is fantastic. Whoever came up to it did a lot of work in this. And I was looking at this and I said, well, there's a couple of things here that challenges the friars. The one, I think, that